Hi guys, I'm Eevee Guy. Welcome to my first Pokemon challenge. I will be posting Pokemon videos here in the channel, just for entertainment and for fun of course. I really hope you like it and enjoy. So, maybe you noticed, obviously, that my favorite Pokemon is Eevee. That's why my name is Eevee Guy, right? Yeah, never mind. Sorry. But as I was saying, I really love the way he evolves, and all the methods to use to evolve him. Yes, some of the methods are annoying, but that's what makes them unique. At least that's my opinion. And actually, for my first video, I wanted to make a playthrough only using Eeveelutions. And why not start from the beginning? From Kanto region, the Gen 1 games. I want to start from these games because it has a very special place in my heart. It was my first Pokemon game when I was still a kid, and that's what made me like and enjoy Pokemon until today. So, to clarify, I will not use cheat codes. I consider cheat codes as an illegal way of getting what you want, so I will avoid using cheat codes in any of my playthroughs and challenges. Unless I don't have any other choice, of course. So maybe some of you is wondering, how will you get a team of evolutions if you will not use cheat codes? Well, it's very simple. Before I go to Kanto, I need to go to Johto first. So, what I did was meet Bill first on Johto. He will give us an Eevee. This Eevee will allow me to make copies of it, which in the game of Gen 2 is called breeding. I named this Eevee Bubbles, and he's the first member of our Eevee squad. Yeah, I took the idea from that guy in the anime. I actually forgot his name. Well, it's not important. I choose the Gen 2 games to get Eevee, because in Gen 1 you can't breed Pokemon, so yeah, I was with my hands tied up. So after that, I go straight to Route 35 and catch a Ditto. I name it Lover, because Ditto loves every Pokemon. Am I right? So, I go to the daycare and I give Bubbles to the daycare man, and I give Lover to the daycare lady. After a lot of walking, and a lot of walking, and a lot of walking, I go to the daycare to retrieve the eggs, and the daycare says, "Your Pokemon had an egg. We don't know how it got there." Dude, really? I'm a kid, but I'm not stupid. So, after more walking, my first Eevee finally hatched. And I decide to call this one Sparky. After a few more steps, the second Eevee hatched. And I call this one Fireball. So, now that I have the members I need, it's time to start our adventure in the Kanto region. So, Professor Oak starts to introduce us to the Pokemon lore. Like all the games, I give him my name and then he introduces to our rival. I name him Chump because he's so full of himself. So, we are at our house, we leave, and right away, Professor Oak stops us from going to the grass. Wild Pokemon can show up and we need our own Pokemon department for protection. But dude, come on, I was about to get them. Fine, I will follow you. As soon as I get to the lab, my rival is there waiting as well. The professor tells me to choose a Pokemon. I go for Bulbasaur. That way my rival will choose Charmander. Although it doesn't even matter what Pokemon he has for a starter. So I named Bulbasaur as not Eevee. I will get rid of him as soon as I can. Sorry Bulbasaur, you will have your chance one day. I was in a hurry to leave, but that chump wanted to have a battle first. Dude, Really? Can't you wait? After a battle of a few tackles, I beat him and I move on with my life. So, after I get to Viridian City, I decide to bring my Eevee squad to my side. So, it was time for trade. Now I have my Eevee squad. Now the adventure will really start. So, I start to grind some levels on my Eevee squad. Not Bubbles, I left him in the box because he was too overleveled. For now, he stays there. When I thought I was ready, I decide to face Chump. He got himself a PG. I send out Sparky. I start to go for a tackle, while PG used Sand Attack. Despite lowering our accuracy, we still got a tackle on it. But unfortunately, thanks to a second Sand Attack, our next tackle missed PG. So I decide to use Tail Whip to lower its defense, but this time PG attacked with Gust, which made a huge damage on Sparky. I Tail Whip again and PG goes for another Gust. At this time I was thinking that for PG being fast, Sparky maybe would lose, and when I decide to attack with Tackle, PG goes for another Sand Attack. And we miss again. So I decide for only to Tail Whip PG, while it continues to use Sand Attack on us. And then, finally, PG sent the last Gust and defeated Sparky. So I sent Fireball, and I used Tackle, and thanks to Sparky's Tail Whip, Fireball's Tackle made a huge damage on PG. PG tried to lower our accuracy with another Sand Attack, but with another Tackle, PG falls. And thanks to that, Fireball grows to level 8. Chomp sends his last Pokemon, Charmander. So I go for a Tail Whip to lower Charmander's defense, while Charmander attacks Fireball with Scratch. Charmander goes for another Scratch, and I decide to go for a Tackle. And Fireball makes a crit! That's my boy. Charmander goes for Growl and lowers Fireball's attack. So the next tackle doesn't do too much damage. I continue to tackle Charmander while Charmander continued to growl. And when Charmander attacks Fireball, Fireball hangs on with only 4 HP and finishes off Charmander. That's our first win against our rival with our Eevee squad. Good boy, Fireball. We arrive in Pewter City, and this is where our adventure starts to go hard. Yeah, right in the beginning. The first gym leader is a rock type, and Brock is a rock head. That will give us a lot of trouble, because my Eevees are normal type, and unfortunately I can't evolve them until I reach Celadon City. Celadon City is the only place in Kanto where I can buy the evolutionary stones to evolve my Eevee squad, so I can't have a water type. Yet. Which means I will have a lot of headaches. And right now I can't have those stones. So I go challenge Brock, and he starts with Geodude, and I go with Fireball. And this is where it starts to get very hard. I have a few problems here. First is Brock. He uses rock-type Pokemon. They are really hard to hit, almost no damage on them. And since I don't have a water-type Pokemon yet, and my Eevees being a normal type, it's going to be bad. The second problem is this. Since I train my Eevees, they do not obey me. After level 11, they start to ignore my orders, and put those together with the hard rock type gym, we have a serious problem in our hands. Things didn't start very well. I tried to go for Tail Whip to lower Geodude's defense, but like I said, Fireball ignored my orders. Fireball, really? Geodude goes for another tackle, and I tried to use Tail Whip again, but Fireball used again Tackle. Because of that, Geodude finishes Fireball. So I send Sparky, which is still in the level 10, which means he still obeys me and uses Tail Whip. Of course, Geodude raises again his defense. I try to lower his defense again, and he raises again his defense. After another Tail Whip, Geodude lands a crit on Sparky. To be fair, I wanted to lower more Geodude's defense, but I knew I wasn't going to win this at this point. So, after a few more hits, Sparky falls to Geodude. I tried a second time, and the same result. And I go for a third time. To be fair, I knew what I was getting myself into, and maybe I'm an idiot to make the same mistake over and over again. But I'm also stubborn. My fiance tells me I'm a rockhead as well. Maybe me and Rock have something in common after all. Either way, I continued to push for a fourth time, and fifth. I still made a sixth, and seventh, and I still lost. I'm not going to lie, I was getting very upset. I decided to take Bubbles out of the box. After all, to beat them, I had to level my Eevee squad, and if I leveled them up, they will disobey me. But I didn't actually have a choice in here, so I bring him with me and start our 8th battle against Brock. And as you can see, I start with Sparky, which is already level 15, which means he is not obeying me as well. I go for Tackle all the time, at least I tried, but Geodude finally finishes Sparky. Next, I send Fireball. We still managed to make some damage to Geodude, but in the end, Fireball falls as well. Now it's time for Bubbles. And despite not obeying me most of the times, because he is on level 28, his attacks are more stronger. But of course, we need to hit them all the time, otherwise it doesn't matter. But Bubbles, just like his brothers, it's making a bad behavior. But after a few tries, Geodude finally falls. Time for Onix. Onix wasn't that difficult. I mean, yeah, it was still hard to hit, but he didn't have defense curl and he was only using Bite. Unfortunately, Bubbles wasn't being a bad boy all the time. So after a few hits, Onix falls and we get our first gym badge. Finally! Now, I was finally happy, because now that we have the first badge, our Eevee squad can finally obey me and... What the f***? Okay, I wasn't expecting this. I thought that after I beat Brock, my Pokemon will finally obey me. I was confused, so of course I decided to make some research, and what I found? Only Misty gives the badge that makes Pokemon obey until level 30. Okay. To be fair, I didn't make my research before, so that's why I got surprised and confused. So, I have to change my pathway. I go straight to the Mount Moon until I reach Cerulean, and since my Eevee squad still has problems with who is in charge, I need to beat Misty first. As soon as I get to Cerulean City, I go straight away to challenge Misty. She is a water type gym leader, so she wouldn't be that hard, right? Wrong. My Eevee squad still are not obeying me, so it will take me a while as well. Misty starts with Staryu, and I start with Fireball. Staryu goes for Water Gun, and I go for Tackle. I tried another Tackle, but Fireball decided to go for Tail Whip. That didn't last long. Staryu goes for Tackle, and Fireball decides to sleep in the middle of the battle. Fireball, why? Staryu continues to attack Fireball while he's still sleeping. And of course, while Fireball was enjoying his sleep, Staryu finishes Fireball. Then I send Sparky on next. Staryu goes for tackle, and Sparky obeys me and goes for tackle as well. Staryu goes for another tackle, and Sparky decides to go this time tail whip. Sparky, you too? But after another try, Sparky listens to me and finishes Staryu with a tackle. Sparky goes to level 21, which means he's going to ignore me even more. Now, next is Starmie, and of course, it was too late to win this. So after 2 tackles, Sparky falls. So I tried a second time, and the same result. And I tried a third time as well. And it took me over like 10 tries, and I still didn't beat her. It took me more tries than Brock. So I asked help for Bubbles once more. So we go for our 11th try. And I go for Fireball. Still doesn't obey me, but one of the hits was very strong. But Staryu manages to finish Fireball. So next is Sparky. Sparky manages to finish Staryu and grow to level 24. But as soon as Starmie comes out, Starmie lands a water gun and a bubble beam on Sparky and finishes off Sparky. Now, Bubbles, it's your turn. Bubbles listens to me and makes 2 powerful quick attacks and make a huge damage on Starmie. After a little bad behavior, 2 more quick attacks is enough to finish Starmie, and Bubbles grows to level 29. And we finally get our second badge. Now, finally, my Eevee squad will know who is in charge. I decide to keep Bubbles in my team now because I would have to make Fireball and Sparky level up more. And they will almost reach the same level as Bubbles, so why not keep them all there now? Now that I have the second badge, I can go for another battle with Chomp. I go with Fireball. Pidgeotto goes with Quick Attack and I go for Tackle. Pidgeotto goes for Quick Attack and Fireball attacks with Tackle. Pidgeotto makes a crit with Quick Attack and Fireball goes for Tackle. After another tackle, Fireball finishes off Pidgeotto. Chomp sends Abra, and I continue with Fireball. Since Abra only knows Teleport at this point, is an easy win with Fireball, even if he didn't crit. Chomp sends Rattata, and I continue with Fireball. Fireball uses Tackle, Rattata goes for a Quick Attack, but after another tackle, Fireball finishes Rattata. Chomp sends his last Pokemon, Charmander, and I decide to leave Fireball to rest, and change for Sparky. And Sparky makes a crit with Tackle. So, with the last tackle, Sparky finishes off Charmander. Good work, Eevee squad! So, our next destination is Vermilion City. I go straight to the SSN, we go see the captain, and after an awkward time with him, he gives me the HM cut. We get out, and we just watch the boat go away. After that, I get myself an Oddish just for the use of cut, nothing else. I call it cut, of course. So, now it's time to face the electric type gym leader, Lieutenant Surge. He starts with Voltorb and I start with Fireball. And I also start with a mistake. I forgot to heal my Eevee squad in the Poke Center. Voltorb goes with a crit tackle and I hit back with tackle too. Voltorb goes with another tackle and Fireball hangs on and finishes off Voltorb with tackle. Lieutenant Surge sends Pikachu this time. Pikachu attacks with Quick Attack, Fireball hangs on with only 8 HP and finishes off Pikachu with tackle. Lieutenant Surge's last Pokemon is Raichu. So I didn't want to push my luck, so I decided to change for Bubbles. I decided to go for Tail Whip first to lower Raichu's defense, and Raichu attacks Bubbles with Thundershock. I go for another Tail Whip. Then Raichu attacks Bubbles with Thunderbolt, and lands a crit, and finishes Bubble. And I didn't have other options here. After that, I sent Fireball, but since he was with low HP, he lost. That's what I get for not healing my Eevee squad. So I decided to go for a second run. And this time, my Eevee squad are healed. Lieutenant Surge starts with Voltorb and I go with Sparky. Lieutenant Surge uses an X speed on Voltorb to increase his speed and I go for tackle. and Sparky finishes off Voltorb with another tackle. Lieutenant Surge sends Pikachu, and I decide to change Sparky for Fireball. Fireball uses Quick Attack on Pikachu, which makes a huge damage. With another Quick Attack, Pikachu falls. Good boy, Fireball. Lieutenant Surge goes with Raichu, so I decide to change for Bubbles. Instead of Tail Whip, I decide to use Quick Attack on Raichu this time. I use Quick Attack on Raichu, and Raichu uses Thunderbolt and makes a half damage on Bubbles. Bubbles goes with another Quick Attack, and Raichu hang on with just a little, but damn! With another Quick Attack, Bubbles finishes off Raichu. We win our third batch. So, now it's time to go through Rock Tunnel in complete darkness, because I'm lazy. We get out, we reach Lavender Town, but we don't stay here for long, and we go straight to Celadon City. Finally, we reach this city, the best city for me right now, because it's in this city where I can buy the Eeveelution stones that I really need to evolve my Eevee squad. So, now that I buy the stones, it's time for my Eevee squad to evolve for their respective evolutions. In this city, we can get our last member of our Eevee squad. I name it Ben? Yeah, like Ben 10? I don't know, it made sense to me at the time, DNA and all of that. And this Eevee will stay just like that, because I like him this way. And now I have a little problem. I will need Fireball for the next gym, because the next gym is a grass type, which Fireball, now a fire type, can be good at. But the problem is, he will learn a fire type attack on level 31. Why is that a problem? Well, because it's in the level 31 that he will ignore my orders again. So I decide to risk it and challenge Erika, the grass type gym leader. She starts with Victory Bell and I go with Fireball, now evolved to Flareon, a fire type. I start with Ember, which puts Victory Bell on half, and Victory Bell goes for Poison Powder. Not a good start. I go with another Ember, and Victory Bell hangs on with just a little of what seems like 1 HP. Erika heals Victory Bell. When I decide to use another Ember, Fireball decides to ignore me. Here we go again. Victory Bell goes for a wrap, and in Gen 1 is a continuous attack, which means I can't attack until it's finished, and my Fireball being poisoned makes this Victory Bell very annoying to deal with. Finally, Wrap breaks free, and I can use Ember on Victory Bell. But, of course, Victory Bell goes for another Wrap. Ugh. And because of that, Fireball falls. So I decide to send Sparky, now evolved to Jolteon, which is also in level 31, so another bad boy here. I go Quick Attack, and that Victory Bell hangs on again with only what seems to be 1 HP. When I try to use Quick Attack again, Sparky ignores me and goes for Thunderbolt, which I don't mind, to be fair. With that, Sparky grows to level 32. But things are not over yet. Erika's next Pokemon is Tangela. I decide to stay with Sparky. I go for Quick Attack, and Tangela uses Bind, which has the same effects as Victory Bell's Wrap, a continuous attack. That doesn't let me attack as well. I ask Quick Attack, but of course Sparky thought it would be better Thundershock, and he got Tangela paralyzed. Maybe Spark was right to use Thundershock? Nah, lucky shot. Tangela uses Constrict, and I try to tell Sparky to use Quick Attack, but he decides it's better another Thundershock, which is not effective. I try again, and Sparky ignore me. And Tangela goes for Constrict. Another ignores and makes a crit with Thundershock. And when I ask for Quick Attack, he finally listens to me, and Tangela goes down. Erika's last Pokemon is Vileplume. I decide to change for Ben because he's still on level 25, so that means he will be a good boy to me. But I didn't realize that could be bad. Vileplume is on level 29, and after I use Tackle on him, Vileplume uses Sleep Powder, which makes Ben take a nap. Vileplume uses Petal Dance and makes a huge damage on Ben. The next hit finishes Ben. So I send back Sparky. I go for Quick Attack, which almost doesn't do too much damage, and then Vileplume makes a crit on Sparky. I tried another Quick Attack, but of course Sparky ignored me. I managed to hit with a low damage Quick Attack. But of course Vileplume finishes off Sparky. So I send Bubbles, which is already evolved for Vaporeon, and my Bubbles is weak against Grass type. But there is actually nothing I can do. I go for another Quick Attack and Vileplume uses Mega Drain. Not good, while it heals himself it causes damage to Bubbles. I was trying to hit with Quick Attack, but it was making a low damage. Finally, Vileplume hit himself in confusion, and when I hit Quick Attack, Bubbles decided to ignore me at the wrong time. And of course, Erika heals Vileplume. I go for another Quick Attack, but of course, thanks to another Mega Drain, Bubbles lost. This is what happens when you don't listen to me, Bubbles. So I decide to go for a second round. And in the second round I decide to reset right before they evolve and not raise them more than level 30, for now. So Erika goes with Victory Bell and I go with Sparky this time. Since I know what Erika is planning, I'm not going to risk Fireball here for a second time. So I go for Thunderbolt and Sparky makes a crit on Victory Bell. And just like I expected, Victory Bell goes for Poison Powder, poisoning my Sparky. So I go for another Thunderbolt. And, just as expected, Victory Bell goes for Wrap, which doesn't let me attack while the poison takes down Sparky little by little. Finally, Sparky lands another Thunderbolt and finishes this damn Victory Bell. Sparky grows to level 31. Erika sends her Tangela, and I change for Fireball. I try to use Ember, but of course, Fireball ignored me, which traps Fireball and doesn't let him attack. Finally, Fireball gets free and uses Ember on Tangela, making a super effective damage. But unfortunately, Tangela goes for another Bind, and we get trapped for a while. But after another Ember, Tangela goes down. Time for Erika's last Pokemon, Vileplume. I tried to use Ember, but of course Fireball thought it was better to use Tail Whip to lower Vileplume's defense. Vileplume goes for Mega Drain, which doesn't make nothing to Fireball. Another Ember, not Ember. Fireball decides for Quick Attack. And Vileplume this time goes for Petal Dance. Fireball hits with Ember, and Vileplume survives, and makes a huge damage on Fireball. So I decide to switch for Ben, so that Fireball can cool his head. But as soon Ben got out, Vileplume put Ben to sleep. And because of that, Vileplume finishes Ben. So I decide to go for Bubbles, so I try to use Quick Attack and Bubbles listens to me and finishes Vileplume, winning us the 4th battle. Next to Celadon City, I decide to catch a Spearow for the use of HM Fly, that way we can travel faster. So, I fly back to Lavender Town. In the Pokemon Tower, I found Chump and got another battle. Now that my Eevee squad evolved, his team is no match for my Eevee squad. With only Thunderbolt, Sparky finishes off Pidgeotto. And with only an Ember, Fireball finishes off Execute and grows to level 32. Then Chump sent another Pokemon he got, a Gyarados. But of course I change back to Sparky, and with only Thunderbolt, Gyarados goes down. Chomp sends Kadabra next, and I change for Ben. Then Kadabra disables our only attack. Kadabra uses Confusion again, so I decide to go for Sand attack, since Tackle was disabled. So while his attacks continue to miss, Tackle gets enabled again, so I use Tackle. And Ben makes a crit and finishes Kadabra. Good boy, Ben. Then Chomp sent out Charmeleon, and of course I will change for Bubbles. And I use Bubble Beam on Charmeleon, and Bubbles OHKO Charmeleon. After I take care of everything on Pokemon Tower, I go to Fuchsia City and go challenge Koga, the Poison-type gym leader. He starts with Coughing, and I go with Ben. I go with Quick Attack, and Coughing attacks with Smoke. Then I decide to use Tail Whip to lower Coughing's defense. I go with another Tail Whip, and Coughing misses a Smoke Screen. And now I decide to use Quick Attack, which makes a good damage after those Tail Whips. We go Quick Attack, which hits and finishes off Coughing. Koga's next Pokemon is Muk, so I decide to go with Bubbles. I go for Bubble Beam while Muk goes with Sludge, which poisons Bubbles. Of course he does. I go with another Bubble Beam while Muk uses Minimize to evade our attacks. Finally, Bubble Beam hits Muk and finishes them off, and that makes Bubbles grow to level 39. Koga sends his second Coughing, and I change for Sparky. I use Thunderbolt, which makes a huge damage on Coughing, and then I finish Coughing with a Quick Attack. Koga sends his last Pokemon, Wheezy, and I change for Fireball. I go for Ember for a little damage, and Wheezy goes for Smog, which poisons Fireball, and finishes off Fireball. So I decide to send out Ben, and I go for a Tail Whip, and then after that a Quick Attack, and then Wheezy uses Sludge, which finishes Ben. So I send Bubbles next, and then I finish Wheezy with a Bubble Beam, winning us the 5th badge. After that, on the Safari Zone, I got the HM Surf, which I will teach to Bubbles, since it's a good powerful attack besides being a move you can use out of the battle as well. While in the Team Rocket's HQ, I found Chomp again. It was a quick battle, so I move on to face Giovanni, the leader of the Team Rocket. He sends Nidorino, and I go with Bubbles. I use Bite, and Nidorino uses Focus Energy to raise his attack, so this time I decide to finish him off with Bubble Beam. Giovanni sends Kangaskhan, and I go for Sparky, and a Thunderbolt is not enough to finish him off, so I go for Quick Attack and finish off Kangaskhan. Giovanni goes for Rhyhorn, and I go for Bubbles. And with only one Surf, Rhyhorn goes down. Next is Nidoqueen, but with another Surf, Nidoqueen goes down, winning us the battle, and making Bubbles grow to level 42. Now next, we'll face Sabrina, the Psychic-type gym leader. And she starts with Kadabra, while I go with Ben. I use Quick Attack, but then Kadabra uses Recover to heal. Then I go for another Quick Attack, which Kadabra survives, and Kadabra uses Recover again. The next Quick Attack finishes Kadabra. Sabrina's next Pokemon is Mr. Mime, and I change for Bubbles, so my Surf doesn't finish it off, so with 2 bites, Mr. Mime goes down. Sabrina sends next Venomoth, and I send Fireball. Venomoth goes for Poison Power, and I go for Ember. Then Venomoth attacks with Side Beam, and makes Fireball confused, and Venomoth survives for just a little bit for Fireball's Ember, and because of the confusion, Fireball hits himself. I try to go for Bubble Beam, but Bubbles gets paralyzed, and Venomoth uses another Side Beam. I go for another Bubble Beam. We finally hit Venomoth with 2 more Bubble Beams, and we finish him off. Sabrina's last Pokemon is Alakazam, so I go for Sparky. I use Thunderbolt on him, and Alakazam goes for Sideway, and Sparky hangs on with only 18 HP. Sparky finished Alakazam with Thunderbolt, winning us the 6th badge. We go back to Pallet Town, and we go straight to Cinnabar Island to challenge Blaine, the Fire-type gym leader. He starts with Growlithe, and I go with Bubbles, of course. I use Surf, and Growlithe goes down with a single attack. Then Blaine sends Ponyta, but goes down with another single surf from Bubbles. Blaine sends Rapid Dash and is also OHKO by Bubbles with a single surf. And thanks to that, Bubbles grows to level 46. Blaine's last Pokemon is Arcanine. I use Surf on it, Quick Attack is enough to finish it, and we win an easy 7th badge. Then we go straight to Viridian City to face the Ground-type gym leader, which is none other than Giovanni himself. I use Bubble Beam, which is enough to OHKO Rhyhorn. Giovanni's next Pokemon is Dugtrio, and we OHKO with 2 with Bubble Beam. Giovanni's next Pokemon is Nidoqueen, but Bubbles OHKO Nidoqueen with Surf. Giovanni's next Pokemon is Nidoking, but he also goes down with a single Bubble Beam. Giovanni's last Pokemon is Rhydon, but we finish him with a single Surf as well, winning us the last badge and the easy one as well. Now it's time for the Elite Four. First is Lorelei, specialist of Ice types. Since most of our team is Water and Ice types, I go with Sparky of course, so Dugong falls with 2 Thunderbolts. Next is Cloyster, that falls with a single Thunderbolt. Next is Slowbro, which falls with a single Thunderbolt. Next is Chinx, I send Fireball, that finishes off Chinx with a single Fire Blast. Last is Lapras. It took 2 Thunderbolt to finish it off Lapras, but no problem, Lorelei is defeated. Next is Bruno. We shouldn't talk about this guy. After all, he is a specialist of Fighting type. But he uses 2 Rock type as well? I don't get it. Well, it starts with Onix, and I go with Bubbles. With a single Bubble Beam, Onix falls. Next is Hitmonchan, and I change for Ben. Yeah, I know. What are you doing, Eevee guy? Are you putting a normal type against a fighting type? Guys, take it easy. Ben will be fine. Hitmonchan continues to use Thunder Punch, and I continue to use Bite all the time, until Hitmonchan falls into the might of Ben. And then Ben gets to level 38, like he deserves. Next is Hitmonlee, and this time I change for Fireball. And my boy makes a crit. Good boy, Fireball. Next I use Quick Attack and finish Hitmonlee. Next is the second Onix, and I of course change for Bubbles, and finish Onix with a single Bubble Beam. My Bubbles since the beginning was destined to finish all the Onix, since he was still an Eevee. Oh, the memories. Makes me so proud. The last Pokemon is Machamp, so I change to Sparky, and a single Thunderbolt is enough to OHKO Machamp, and Sparky grows to level 54. Bruno is defeated. Next is Agatha. She is a specialist of poison types. Her first Pokemon is Gengar. I go with Fireball. I go for a small damage Ember, and Gengar uses Confuse Ray. I go for another Ember, then Gengar uses Nightshade. And it was my turn to hit, but Fireball hit himself in confusion. I go for another Ember, and then Gengar puts Fireball to sleep with Hypnosis. But Fireball wakes up right away. When I try to attack, Fireball hit himself with Confusion again. Fireball leaves the Confusion and attack with Ember. But next, Gengar put Fireball Confuse again. And because of that, Fireball falls down with his own hands. I send Bubbles, and Agatha changes for Golbat. Bubbles uses Bubble Beam on it, and then I change for Ben. Golbat only uses Ace. Golbat then uses Confuse Ray and makes Ben confused, while Ben makes a small damage with Bite. Then another Bite leaves Golbat with just a little bit of HP, but then a Quick Attack is enough to finish it off. Agatha sends back Gengar, and I send back Bubbles, and Bubbles finish it off with a single Bubble Beam. Next is Haunter, and I decide to go with Sparky. Then I use Thunder on it, and then next I use Thunderbolt, and finish it off Haunter. Next is Arbok, and I send Ben again. Arbok uses 2 Screech to lower Ben's defense, then Arbok uses Bite as well on Ben. And Ben survives with only 9 HP and finishes off Arbok with another Bite. Akata's last Pokemon is a second Gengar. I change for Bubbles. Gengar uses Confuse Ray and Bubbles hits himself in confusion because why not? Then Gengar uses Nightshade and Bubbles hits himself in confusion again. Then Gengar uses Toxic to poison Bubbles, while Bubbles hits himself in confusion again. Ugh. Really? Really, this second Gengar is worse than the first. So really annoying. Gengar goes with another Nightshade and Bubbles. Do I really have to say it? Yeah, again. My Bubbles falls without making a single damage to this stupid Gengar because of all the confusion and all the poison that this thing put on him. Ugh. I changed for Sparky and used Thunder on Gengar, and of course, Gengar decided to poison Sparky with Toxic. Another Thunderbolt finishes Gengar, and win the battle against Agatha. Finally! Next is Lance. He starts with Gyarados, and I go with Sparky. A single Thunderbolt is enough to OHKO Gyarados. Next is Dragonair, and I go with Bubbles. Bubbles makes a crit with Surf, and Dragonair uses Hyper Beam. With Bite, Bubbles finishes Dragonair and grows to level 61. Lance sends his second Dragonair. I use Surf again, and Dragonair uses Hyper Beam and makes a crit. I use Surf again, and Dragonair survives, but since Dragonair has to recharge from Hyper Beam with a quick attack, Dragonair falls. Aerodactyl uses Takedown, and Bubbles survives with only 10 HP and finishes off with Surf. Then I go greedy and I left Bubbles instead of changing him. I use 2 Surf for a small damage, but then Dragonite uses Hyper Beam and Bubbles goes down. I decide to bring Sparky and use Thunder, and Dragonite survives with only, yeah, you guessed it, 1 HP. But then I use a quick attack and Sparky finishes Dragonite. Next is the champion that is none other than our rival Chump. He starts with Pidgeot and I go with Sparky of course. Sparky OHKO Pidgeot with a single Thunder. Next is Alakazam, so I send Pan. Alakazam uses Psybeam which makes a huge damage, then Alakazam finishes off Pan with Psychic. So I bring back Sparky and I finish off Alakazam with Thunderbolt. Next is Rhydon. I change for Bubbles of course, with a single Surf, Rhydon goes down. Next is Executor. I change for Fireball. I use Fire Blast on it for a super effective damage. I finish it off with Ember. Next is Gyarados, so I change for Sparky. I use Thunder and Gyarados falls with 1 hit. Next is Charizard, so I change for Bubbles. Charizard uses Slash, but then falls with a single Surf. And just like this, we defeated the Elite Four and the champion, our rival, Chump, winning the game. So, I must say, it was interesting. I mean, I used Eeveelutions before in my playthroughs, of course, but not like this, especially in a whole game like Pokemon Red. It was difficult in the beginning, because my Eevees were normal type, but after I evolved them, this playthrough was a piece of cake. I really enjoyed playing it. Actually, I feel like making another playthrough again with Eeveelutions, since it was so fun doing this one. Maybe I will do it in Pokemon Gold, but don't worry, just because I love Eevee doesn't mean he will be always the main cast. I'm planning to do some other stuff, like a challenge I never did before, because I'm scared of doing it. It's called Nuzlocke, and I'm still in the thought process of making it, because it's going to be my first time doing a challenge like that, so let me know in the comments if you want to see that. And if you like this playthrough and you want to see more, please subscribe to my channel to get all the notifications. Eevee will appreciate. Put a like on that video, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.